it.
I'd like to call to order the work session for November the 4th. 2 days after Councilmember Poglaze's birthday.
No, that's
So
not
happy
true.
birthday.
Thank you,
Is
sir.
it 3 days?
Thank you.
3 days?
2 days.
2 days.
2 days ago.
Happy birthday, November
you.
the 2nd.
Really?
He turned
No.
21 again.
Yeah. 51 would
And
be
again.
good.
51?
51 would be good.
Is
If
that
that were the truth.
All right, let's go on to agenda item 2.1 then.
All right.
Good morning,
Mr.
Mayor
Hort.
and Council. Establish a sister cities relationship with Bourges, France, and adopt Resolution 19-35. Mr. Hubbard.
Good morning, Council, City staff. This will establish a relationship with a city of Bourges, France. It's located about 2 hours south directly from Paris. The city contacted Mr. Mayor December of last year. The connection is that the Monin Syrup Company was founded in Bourges. They have their North American operations located here in Clearwater. Their economy is based on manufacturing, but mainly also tourism as well. They have some historic cathedrals. The city was established in 52 BC by the Romans, so their history is a little bit longer than ours. But they are very heavily tourist-based. They also have an educational-based system there, 2 universities in the city. It's a very interesting relationship. They approached us and are very eager and excited about the possibility of starting a relationship. Per the International Sister Cities organization, this is a protocol for getting to a formal establishment. Both cities will institute a resolution to declare their interest in partnering, and then the cities will put together a partnership agreement in which we define the terms of the exchanges and what the focuses will be for that relationship. With that, I'll have any questions from you. I'm happy to answer them.
Any questions of staff on 2.1? Mr. Hamilton?
This is really just kind of the first step of
Correct, sir.
going through the process.
Yes, well, that's part of the first formalized step. We had 2 steps preceding as the initial interest and then contact between the mayors, which a letter has already gone both between our mayor and their mayor.
And do we know the process that Monin went through where they, decided on Clearwater as their, and it's wonderful that they're here, don't get me wrong, but how did they pick Clearwater out of all the...
That I'll look up for you. I'm happy to figure that out.
I'd be interested to know that.
Mr. Poglaze?
Segueing off the Bonin question, I have heard, and it's maybe rumored, I'm not sure it's true, are they not the largest syrup manufacturer in the United States?
They are significantly one of the larger, if not the largest. You'll see their syrups in any coffee shop. They have a variety of them, as well as syrups that are used to enhance beverages as well.
That's correct.
Mr. Kunda?
Thank you. Have you heard any, what interest have you heard in the community on this idea? Was it generated completely outside of the community? Or?
This one came from outside of the community. It came to us from the city of Bourges directly. But we do have some community interest from it as well. Some citizens that are currently over in Bourges are from Clearwater and work with the company and will be coming back in about 1.5 years. So there's already some citizen exchange at that level, albeit the economic level without the program, there is some interest from back and forth.
Mayor and Council, there is a large group who focuses on French speaking, and they cut across the entire community. I would envision that they would be very excited and would become part of that community, response if we did something like this.
Thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Horn, because I think is Amplify Clearwater the joint venture between the 2 chambers. The Beach Chamber used to have a program of bringing university students here, so is that going to tie in?
That can very well tie in with that. I know for many years they've had students that have helped out with Darlene Cole in the previous chamber. That I can check with Amplify to see if they'd continue it. I think it would be in their interest too. They've got a lot of very good, strong connections.
And especially since you mentioned that Bourges has a university.
Yes, sir.
That would be helpful. And then my other question was going to be, how big of a role is Monin going to play in this? Are they the driving, are they going to help us, with all the stuff that has to be done to help foster this relationship?
I think they can be a strong partner. I envision that as actually the representatives that are traveling back and forth, that are coming back to Clearwater. They can be a strong force for supporting our program, as well as the Sister Cities Advisory Board puts their strong force behind it, as well as Sister Cities, Inc., who is our citizen volunteer board. They're very excited about this program.
All right, unless there's any other questions, it'll be on our agenda for Thursday night.
Very good.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for all your work on that. This is exciting.
Very welcome.
Agenda item 3.1.
Approve and increase the contract number 900052 for employment-related healthcare services with Baycare Urgent Care LLC in the annual amount of $25,000 for the period January 1, 2019 through December 31st, 2019, and the one-year renewal term option, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Ms. Kirkpatrick.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. So in December 2017, Council authorized an agreement with Baycare to provide employment-related healthcare services, including pre-employment physicals as well as drug testing. The term of the initial agreement was for calendar year 2018 with 2 one-year renewal options. We have an open purchasing contract which allows us to spend $25,000 annually for the current year and for 2020, but it is not sufficient to cover actual services rendered. So there's no change to the contract pricing or the scope. We're requesting an additional $25,000 for the current annual term and for the remaining one-year renewal.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 3.1? Consent? Nope.
Yes.
It's not going on consent.
Is there a reason it can't? There's no ordinance or anything?
It can.
Okay. Is that okay, consent?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you.
4.1.
Award a construction contract to Restocon Corporation of Tampa, Florida in the amount of $702,848.40 for the Gordon Avenue Garage Restoration Project, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Johnson.
Morning. The North Garden Avenue parking garage provides 250 spaces for the downtown area. What this contract will allow us to do is do our maintenance repairs, basically resealing joints. There's some spalling, cracking with concrete. This basically allows us to maintain the garage in its existing condition, or in a condition that's acceptable, extending the lifespan of that structure. It'll be phased in a manner to keep that garage operational. So I'll be working with the parking department to make sure that what we're trying to do isn't conflicting with the operation of the garage.
Any questions on 4.1? Mr. Pugliese.
Mayor, thank you. We won't have to, there's no repairs or remedies needed on the new mural wall, right, that would damage the painting or anything?
We contacted the CRA and discussed it with them. If there is some stucco repair that's going to need to be done. We've gotten the CRA and let them know if there are any minor repairs to be done, that they'll contract either the artist that did it or have an artist come in and fill and, fix what might need to be done. So.
Got it. And one more follow-up question. The rooftop parking deck that currently nobody uses, is that need to be resurfaced, or is it in good shape? Is there any repairs?
There's quite a bit of work to do up there as well. Yeah, basically every joint of concrete in between the joints is going to be pulled up and redone.
Okay.
Some of the decking is going to be redone. So it's quite an overhaul, but it needs to be done to keep that thing up and running.
When was it built? How old is it?
I don't have that exact date for you, but I can get it to you.
Thank you.
Mr. Kondo.
Thank you. Is this a budgeted item? Where are the funds coming from?
Parking and operations both of them are helping fund it.
Mr. Albritton.
You said it was a phased project. How long was this going to be?
The contract's written at a pretty long duration, but I anticipate within 2 or 3 months,
Oh.
depending on coordination.
Okay.
We'd like to keep it operating and move traffic around throughout there while we're working one area, routing traffic around to another. So 2 or 3 months is what I probably put towards it.
So they have used to have gates, to let people in with a ticket thing, and they've removed that because now they go to parking by tag, I guess. Mm-hmm. Are those going to be part of what's going to be removed?
They haven't removed everything yet. I mean, there's more to come out of there.
Okay.
You say, any other questions? Okay. How long do you think that these repairs will extend the life of the garage? Do you have an estimate? I mean,
We did a similar project a decade ago. It's concrete, so it's built to last, as long as we maintain it. See, what ends up happening is the joints in between them end up breaking down because it's a material that breaks down quicker. So water seeps into that, and then it gets into the concrete and rebar, causes falling and cracking. So as long as we replace that stuff, you have a much better chance of it lasting a lot longer.
thanks.
Sure.
Consent? Oh, I'm sorry.
I think the point that needs to be made after some of these questions and whatnot and comments is, this parking garage is not in danger of collapsing.
Absolutely not.
It is structurally sound. This is just general maintenance that you have to do. The sun, like on the rooftop area, the sun is brutal on concrete, and I mean, these are normal repairs that anybody does on a structure of this nature, but the structure itself is sound and not anywhere near collapsing.
I relate it to an oil change. You know,
Right.
you do an oil change on an annual frequency or a regular frequency so that your engine doesn't blow up. So that's typically what I relate this to, is we're doing these repairs on a continual basis to make sure that the product lasts as long as it can.
Good point, Mr. Hamilton. Thank you. Consent?
Yep.
4.2.
Approve a joint project agreement, JPA, with Pinellas County for Lakeview Road utility relocations related to sidewalk and drainage improvements in the amount of $529,462.50, and engineer of record supplemental one work order to ACOM in the amount of $24,783, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Brown.
Good morning. My name is Jeremy Brown, the engineering manager for utilities. Pinellas County intends to improve drainage and sidewalks along Lakeview Road between South Lincoln Avenue to Stevenson Creek at Hillcrest Avenue. This project will relocate water and sanitary sewer lines that conflict with the proposed improvements. The city will be advised of the actual contract bid costs and be given the opportunity to reject the bid if it's deemed excessive. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions on 4.2?
Just one. This looks like it's about a 2.5 block, just under 3 block stretch. Is that right?
Well, there's a map in the back. It's actually, I mean, it crosses a couple of cross streets. I mean, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, almost 8 cross streets.
Oh, all right, yeah. Those may be shorter blocks.
I don't have the exact length with me, though, in terms of footage.
All right, thanks.
Any other questions, council? Consent?
Yes.
4.3.
Approve the final plat for Atme Junior Green, whose physical address is 1401 North Belcher Road, is located on the east side of Belcher Road, approximately 1/4 mile north of Palmetto Street. Mr. Mahoney.
Good morning, Council. Tom Mahoney, Engineering Department. This will be a 10-unit townhome development with 2 3-story units on it. The site consists of approximately 2 acres. This will be a private street within the townhomes. This project was approved through DRC on December 3rd of 2015, and again by CDB on August 15th of 2017. Happy to answer any questions.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.3? Mr. Hamilton?
Knowing this area very well, I mean, these townhomes, these are not going to be, I'm guessing these are not going to be high dollar units. I mean, you're right on the railroad track. It's a very small pie-shaped lot, and across the railroad track is the long center. I mean, it's they're shoehorning some more units in here. I just can't imagine them being high dollar, but I don't know what else you'd do with that property, so I mean.
Yeah, it's on a busy street as well.
You're on Belcher.
And it does abut the
Ingress
city
and
right
egress
away.
is not the easiest there, but, okay.
So, Mr. Hamilton, I guess you're not going to be buying a
I don't think I'm a.
But don't discourage others from doing so.
Not interested in being a.
Don't discourage others from.
Mayor,
Mr.
is this
Horn.
an active railway?
Yes, sir,
Yeah.
yes,
So
absolutely.
one of the things that we would want to do is to make sure that that developer informs whoever they're selling these units to that it is an active railway, and that, it doesn't seem practical that we would get involved in any kind of quieting
So,
activity.
No.
But this goes back to what's happened in the downtown, where people bought those condos and.
Surprise.
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, they knew going in that they were next to an active railway, and but we ended up spending money in the state to quiet it because of that. That's all.
That's it. Okay,
Consent?
Yeah.
4.4.
Approve a performance agreement with United Public Safety, Fort Washington, Pennsylvania, for a 3-year term, December 1, 2019 through November 30th, 2022, with an option of 2 one-year renewals for parking violation, permit processing, and collection agency services in the not-to-exceed amount of $876,600, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Ryder.
Good morning, Mayor, council members. Again, I'm here to get approval for a performance agreement with United Public Safety for parking citation processing, digital permit processing, and parking citation collections. The proposed agreement, again, is for 3 years with 2 one-year extensions. An RFP was done with 12 firms responding and 5 firms giving presentations, of which United Public Safety was selected by the committee. Are there any questions?
Any questions of staff on agenda item 4.4? Mr. Hamilton?
This is a different company that has been doing this,
Yes,
correct? This is
yes,
not-
it's a brand-new company.
Okay.
Any other questions,
Same
council?
question I was going to ask.
One of the complaints that we get all the time is that somebody receives a parking citation from the company, and it's not a Clearwater address. And they wonder, why. This company's going to be in Pennsylvania. Are they going to be using a Clearwater address? Or
We'll be using the Clearwater address. You can always pay your citation still at the Garden Avenue facility, but if you do want to pay online, the website is through this company.
But is it going to be identified as a city of Clearwater? In other words, what I'm saying is when the citation is sent out, it doesn't necessarily have a Clearwater postmark or a Clearwater return address. And the question is, why am I paying somebody even out of state my Clearwater fine?
I can send you the language that we have on the tickets. It will have the Clearwater address on there.
Okay, so there is an explanation that the vendor is not is working for the city of Clearwater.
Yes,
Okay, all right. That would be helpful because we get people question that even if it's online, make sure that that is readily understood.
We can do that, yes.
Consent?
Yep.
4.5.
Approve the contract for sale of real property by the city of Clearwater, Florida, between the city of Clearwater and Douglas M. Schrock, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same, together with all other instruments required to effect closing. Mr. Burzak.
Good morning, Robert Berzak, Real Estate Coordinator. The City of Clearwater acquired this landlocked parcel via foreclosure on December 18, 2018. And an independent appraisal determined the fair market value of $6,000. City Council declared the property surplus for sale through invitation to bid it on June 20, 2019. The terms set by council were the qualifying bids would exceed $6,000, and the successful bidder should be the owner and fee title to lands contiguous to the property. One qualifying bid met the bid terms. The property owner directly each of the subject properties submitted a bid of $6,006. Questions?
Any questions of staff on 4.5? Mr. Hamilton?
Do we have any idea how this originally got platted this way? Because you look at the lot directly north of it, and it goes from Overbrook Avenue all the way to the trail itself, and the subsequent lot north of that as well. So, how did this one get cut off from Overbrook? And have to
I don't think it
run
was
on the trail
somewhere-
with no vehicular access.
I think it was somewhere in the 50s. The property to the south, somehow that got split off. I'm not sure the exact reason.
Okay, because it just makes perfect sense to, for this person to be buying it, and it's not, I mean, it has zero value to anybody but him. Okay,
Any other questions? Consent?
yes.
4.6.
Approve the second amendment to cooperative funding agreement with Southwest Florida Water Management District for the Clearwater Groundwater Replenishment Project Phase 3, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Brown.
Good morning, my name is Jeremy Brown, the engineering manager for utilities. As you may recall, we held one on about 6 months ago to discuss plans to delay the groundwater replenishment project while we complete a water system master plan. Due to the delay, SwiftMud, Southwest Florida Water Management District, has requested the city modify the cooperative funding agreement to allow SwiftMud to utilize some of those funds for other projects while the water master plan is completed. The item before you today is that modified agreement. I'm happy to respond to any questions.
Any questions on 4.6? Consent?
Well, yeah,
I'm sorry.
we're not forfeiting that funding for a future project when we do need it, are we? We're just basically saying you can use it for something else now, but are we forfeiting that money technically?
Technically, yes.
So we're not guaranteed to get it back?
So this was their money that they allocated for us over the years, and they've held that money aside over the years. We've had discussions with them. They've indicated towards us that this project is still going to maintain a high score. So if and when we do reapply, we should rank high in that we should be a prioritized project. But technically, this is taking the funding away.
Consent?
Thank you.
5.1.
Provide direction on the proposed second amendment to an existing development agreement between Triprop Clearwater LLC and MEM PC Properties, Inc., as assigned by Atlantic Properties and Co. Holdings LLC, Nakana Holdings LLC, the property owners, and the City of Clearwater for property located at 401, 411, 421, 425, and 431 South Gulfview Boulevard, which adds Exhibit A-1 to provide an updated legal description to include parcel 072915523800000780 to the subject site, and replaces Exhibit B with Exhibit B-1 to provide new conceptual site plans and elevations, updates Exhibits C and D regarding any references to the legal description and proposed number overall hotel units, adds Exhibit E, which provides specific language germane to the pedestrian bridge regarding construction and maintenance, and sets a new date by which time site plan approval must be obtained, and confirm a second public hearing in City Council chambers before City Council on November 21st, 2019 at 6 p.m. or as soon thereafter as may be heard. Mr. Perry.
Thank you. Good morning. On September 19th of 2014, City Council approved the allocation of up to 100 units from the reserve for this general site. That project included 227 units at 114 units an acre. On March 17th of 2015, the Community Development Board approved case FLD 2015-09036 to permit that exact project. In August of 2015, City Council approved the first amendment to this project that essentially added just a little bit of height to the project. Since then, we now have our second amendment. Just kind of want to get the background. The second amendment is coming through, and for two basic reasons. One, they added property. They bought the Post Corner Pizza site, which might have been shorter than stating the parcel ID number, but they're also proposing a pedestrian bridge that's going to connect this parcel to the Opal Sands across the way. That's the Exhibit E. The height of the building stays the same. The overall number of units goes up to 248 units. The overall density goes down, actually, to just about 103 units per acre. The number of parking spaces required, of course, goes up. And that flexible development application that I mentioned earlier will need to be amended as well. These items are discussed in the development agreement. There's no change to the use of the property. It's still going to be a hotel. In fact, the overall shape of the project is pretty much the same. What the addition of this parcel allowed was just a reorientation and consolidation of the parking component so that it's pretty much all on the south side of the site. Other than that, the basic shape and form of the project is remaining the same. We've reviewed this against our community development code, and as I noted, to move forward, assuming approval of the Second Amendment, they will have to amend the existing flexible development approval. The setbacks are all the same as they were originally approved, actually, so is the height. The project continues to appear to be consistent with the Beach by Design guidelines, and it's also continues to be consistent with the requirements for allocation of units from the reserve. One point I do want to note, because I'll bet somebody will ask, no, there are no units left in the reserve. They are not getting any more units. The number of units that have been allocated, 100 units, that remains the same. So there's no change with regard to that. The only extra units they've gotten are the base density of 50 units to the acre for the additional parcel. So that's it. If there are any questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions of staff on 5.1? Mr. Hamilton?
My understanding, the big change in this is originally the developer, owner of the property, did not own the Post Corner Pizza property.
Correct.
They have now negotiated and have purchased the Post Corner Pizza property, so that they brought that in. That's where they're getting their additional motel units because of that acreage there. But they're now also, my understanding is that in the new design, there will be 250 additional public parking spaces that were not in the original design, correct?
Yeah, they're providing excess parking. And, at this stage, they're still working out the exact floor design and all that. So they don't have the exact number of parking spaces that they're going to provide. They're certainly going to be providing more than the minimum 1.2 spaces per unit, and they've indicated to me that they're committed to providing any excess parking to the, to public use.
Okay. And the pedestrian bridge connects one property to the other property. It does not provide direct access down onto the beach or anything of that nature.
No, not directly to the beach. You're correct.
Any other questions, council? Well, can we build on those 2 points, though? You say that right now it doesn't provide direct access to the beach, but at some future point, would they be able to do so unless we prohibit it?
I really don't know how they would do it. I mean, just physically. This pedestrian bridge pretty much goes right into the lobby on the second floor of the Opal Sands building. There's really no way to physically get access to the beach. I mean,
well, maybe not necessarily to the beach, but to me, a pedestrian bridge connects the two towers. Let's say, okay, they could have a stairway leading down to their property without going into the other tower, and that's the question. To me, that would be beach access. So are we saying that it's going to stay just between the two towers, or can they at some point do this additional modification without letting us know?
I don't know how they'd be able to do it without letting us know, because that work would require permits, and it would also be in the public right-of-way, so they need right-of-way permits. I can't imagine a scenario where they could just suddenly build it without getting city approval.
Well, I understand that they would need the permits, but if it were to go to their property, I could be walking on the street and then move over to, a stairway that leads me up to the tower, without going into their property.
And Mayor, just so we're clear, part of this agreement requires an air access agreement that we will grant to the developers. So we will restrict where the stairway can, or where the walkway will actually go. So I think if I understand what you're saying is that we'll actually have to require that stairway to be somewhere within that area that we would actually grant them an access to.
No, I don't want a stairway.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
That's what,
So we would not grant them the ability to build on that part of the building, if that answers your question.
Well, like I say, I just want to make, I don't like this idea of, property after property coming back to us asking us for pedestrian bridges, and I just want to make sure that this is a pedestrian bridge that is connecting two properties, and it's not, geared to getting people who are using the sidewalk to use a stairway to get to the bridge.
And we'll make sure when we negotiate the air access agreement, and we bring that to you.
And then the other concern that I had was, you said 250 public parking spaces, but then you said, well, they're going to provide 1.2, and then whatever the access would be public parking. So that...
I didn't say the 250 parking spaces. That was Councilmember
Right.
Hamilton that said that. But that's right.
But
Right now, that's where the numbers are.
That was a term that they, I think, used with all of us, is that they were, so are we assured that there are going to be 250 public parking spaces?
I mean, there could be 248 public parking spaces. I don't know if we want to tie them to an exact number, or maybe a minimum number.
A minimum, I think a minimum number, if we're going to do this, should be.
Sure.
Yeah, because the way it was presented left me like, well, maybe it would be 150. Okay.
Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay. And then the other question I have is, can we ask them to put in a post-quarter pizza in the new property? I mean, because they had.
Already got that hidden into the development.
Okay.
That would just be good for business.
Right,
anyway.
yeah. Mr. Albrecht.
Okay, so I'm just trying to understand your question about now this is actually going to be on the east side of the road, so from my thoughts about the original plan that came to me when I was on CDB was it was the end point of the beach walk to go into their hotel, so people can go in and out. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. From beach walk.
Sure.
The bridge is just to connect the rooms, basically to have a combination of rooms in one hotel with the other, so they can say we've got X amount of rooms combined.
And I think also if they want to have some meetings or other activities that the hotels can share, that it's easier to get from one side to the other.
And it's an enclosed walkway?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, this will be on our agenda Thursday night.
Thanks.
6.1
So we pulled
is
6.1.
being pulled,
Your new 6.1.
but it's the new 6.1,
The new 6.1. All right.
which is 7.1.
Authorized trade-in of 2012 case backhoe.
But let's explain. 6.1 was being pulled by the Public Utilities Department, and do we know if it's going to be rescheduled, or?
I will get with staff to find out.
Okay, and just in case somebody was wondering, yeah, okay. So now we're on the new 6.1, which is 7.1.
Authorized trade-in of 2012 case backhoe G3924 to Trekker Group of Tampa, Florida for the offered amount of $26,500 in accordance with Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.624, exceptions to auction sale bidding procedures, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Conzen.
Good morning, Perry Conzen, Fleet Manager. The case backhoe listed below was designated to be replaced via the October 3rd council approval and then be declared surplus for auction at a later date. During the quotation process for a new backhoe, the vendor offered a trade-in value of $26,500. The average is around $17,000 at auction. Council authorization for trade-in of G3924 is requested.
Any questions of staff on 7.1? Consent?
Yep.
6.2, well, which is 7.2. Let's just go back to using the 7.2 number so that if people, no, we're not. Okay, 6.2.
I got it.
That's the agenda,
Okay.
yeah.
I got it.
Confusing.
On your agendas at home, it may be 7.2.
Approve a purchase order to Pinellas County Solid Waste for an operating expenditure not to exceed $4 million for the disposal of solid waste at the Pinellas County Waste to Energy Plant landfill for the period of October 1, 2019 through September 30th, 2020, as provided in the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.5641D, services provided by other governmental entities, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Johnson.
Good morning, Mr. Mayor and Council. The item before you provides for solid waste disposal at Pinellas County's Waste to Energy Plant and landfill. These funds represent a small increase over FY 18-19 to accommodate the 6% increase recently approved by the county in their disposal fees, as well as an anticipated increase in disposal tonnage. Staff recommends your approval and I'm available for questions.
Any questions of staff on agenda item 6.2? Consent? 6.3.
Approve award of invitation to bid 55-19 for the purchase and installation of onboard tractor and trailer weighing systems from Tampa Crane and Body Acquisition LLC in the amount of $120,700 and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Johnson again.
Good morning. Brian Johnson, Assistant Director of Solid Waste General Services. I neglected to say that before. The item before you provides for the procurement of an onboard tractor and trailer weighing system. This system allows the city's new transfer station to operate at maximum efficiency by providing the drivers and crane operators with real-time load weights. This information will allow solid waste staff to prevent dangerous and illegal overloading of trailers and will also avoid wasted resources resulting from underloading. Staff recommends your approval.
Any questions on 6.3? Mr. Kondo.
These aren't the two that are outside. Where will this vehicle operate?
You're correct. We have inbound and outbound in-ground scales that are part of the system. This item provides scales built into the vehicles themselves, into the tractor and the trailer, so that as it is being loaded, we have real-time load weights. There's a display in the cab for the driver to see and a wall-mounted display for the crane operator to see so they can monitor real-time load weights into the trailer as it's being loaded.
Sir, is this something that we're going to be working toward for each of our vehicles then, or?
Yes, this item will provide the procurement of those items for all of our transfer trailers and tractors.
All right, good. So it's not just one. Good.
Any other questions on 6.3? Consent? 7.1, this call.
Appoint 2 members to the Municipal Code Enforcement Board with terms to expire October 31st, 2022. Council members, in your agenda pack, you have applications for Greg Brown and Carrie Fuller. Mr. Engel is interested in being reappointed. He's currently serving his first term, and Mr. Menino is also interested in being reappointed, and he's currently filling an unexpired term. Both are eligible to be reappointed.
Any questions or comments for 8.1? Mr. Albritton.
Yeah, well, Mr. Menino is running for council, so that would,
If he is elected, then he would actually have to resign, but he is not required by law to resign now, only because it's a volunteer board.
Okay.
I think we should reappoint both, since they're both eligible and both interested, reappoint both of them, and we'll cross your bridge when we get to it.
Yeah.
if necessary.
May I place it on
Put that on
consent?
consent? Okay, so Mr. Engel and Mr. Menino on consent for 7.1. 7.2. Ms. Call.
Appoint one member to the Public Art and Design Board as a citizen representative to fill the remainder of an unexpired term through April 30, 2021. Council members, in your agenda pack, you have applications for Jonathan Barnes and Meg Taylor. Both are interested in serving. Ms. Cunningham has resigned, so that is a reason for the appointment. Mr. Barnes, from what I understand, Mr. Hubbard has explained to me that he would be an interesting appointment just for your consideration, only because of his art background. He has extensive art background, so. Are there any questions?
Both of these are sitting on other boards.
Correct.
So if we were to appoint, well, one of them, then we would have to go back and appoint. So do we have applications pending for municipal code and nuisance abatement?
We actually do have applications for code board since the item beforehand was to reappoint. I'll create another, an agenda item
Okay,
for next month
so
for that one.
Okay.
Yeah,
Mr.
I think-
Hamblin.
I would like to see Mr. Barnes on there, given his arts background, for this board.
I agree.
Okay, so, and then the third person, that would create then the vacancy on municipal code?
Correct.
And you said that you had a third
So
applicant, Mr.
for the item beforehand, we had Mr. Brown and Carrie Fuller.
But Mr. Brown is on the nuisance abatement board.
It's true, we have a situation, but nuisance abatement board does not meet as often, so it does buy me some time to find individuals who are willing to serve on that board.
You don't have you don't have any,
I'm not in front of me right now, but we may have a pool already.
and then the other applicant is Mr. Fuller?
Yeah, Carrie Fuller.
Any thoughts, council, or do y'all want to just leave that?
Or I can bring that back at the next month's meeting.
I was just trying to, get it out of the way today if we could. Mr. Barnes is in 6-5, and neither of the two are 6-5, so we don't have that. Y'all want her to bring it back then? All right, we'll just bring it back.
Okay.
Okay? So we'll put 8.2, we'll put Mr. Barnes on consent. Okay. 8.3. Or 6.7. 7.3.
Amend the Clearwater Code of Ordinances, Section 2.082, changing the composition of the Air Park Advisory Board to allow ex officio members and pass Ordinance 9350-19 on first reading. Council members, the Air Park Advisory Board in the past used to have ex officio members, and then that membership was deleted from the code. In speaking with staff, they would like the opportunity, with changes coming up, if there is a need for technical expertise that's not available locally or on the board itself, that they are permitted to appoint an ex officio member. It is permissible, it would not be a requirement, but the individual would know that they would serve in that capacity only.
Okay. Any questions? This will be on our agenda then for Thursday night. 7.4.
Amend City Council Policies 2.2, the Audit Committee, 3.7, information available to the public and press, and 5-14, welcome letters, and add City Council Policies 6.2, brick streets, and 8.5, renaming city parks. In your agenda packs, Council, I had copies of the changes that are being implemented. So for the Policy 2.2 Audit Committee, that was due to recent legislative changes. That's requiring the Audit Selection Committee. And Ms. Yvonne Taylor is here if you have any questions directed to that specific change. No. Policy 3.7, information available to the public and press. This language has been in for quite some time, but due to technology and how we actually do the work, the information available to the press and to the public can either go from my office, from public communications, or directly from the city manager or the city attorney's staff. So we're just trying to clean up the language so that it reflects what we're currently doing.
Okay.
Policy 514, welcome letters. This is another policy that's been around for quite some time. Due to some changes, particularly like the bigger annexation changes, planning has automatically included a letter welcoming the residents. So this language is reflecting that change, that planning is providing that information, the welcome packets, welcoming residents into the city limits.
Council, this had been on there, and to be honest with you, it sort of had slipped by me, and then I noticed it one day, and I started signing letters, and then it stopped again, and so I'm not exactly sure, how this ought to be done. I believe it's the council that approves the annexation.
Correct.
So the welcome ought to be from the city and the council, from the city. And I think the council represents that more than the planning department. It's not that big of a deal to sign the letters. I don't know why
I think it was like the
it
bigger.
was never done, and then it started, and then it stopped again. I'm not exactly sure. Signing a letter that's already prepared is not that big of a deal,
I think it's a good thing.
Okay, I can leave it as is then, status quo, and I'll make sure that planning is aware that we are going to re-implement the letters from council signing. Is it just by the mayor, or do you want council? Okay.
That's the way it.
I will get with planning.
That's how it started, then it stopped, and then it started, and then it
I think
stopped.
it stopped when it was the big annexations that were coming in, trying to think like the sewer, when they were annexing for sewer, the bigger ones. So it was just easier for them to just go ahead and get it all, but I will get with planning staff, not a problem. All right, so Brick Streets Policy 6.2. Council members, back in 2015, you adopted a policy regarding the installation of brick streets within city limits and approved the policy. Engineering had adopted the policy, but it was never memorializing city council policy. So this is just the policy that you had adopted back in 2015, but we're actually including it in city council policies.
Mr. Hamilton.
Do we have, I'm trying to see in here, what is the threshold as far as if a neighborhood wants to do it, what is the threshold of homeowners that are affected that have to agree to it before we, is there a threshold in this? I was trying to find it and didn't really see it.
Ms. Kivett's coming up to answer the question.
Good morning, Tara Kivett, Engineering Director. I'll have to get back to you on that. I don't have the policy right in front of me. We either did, I think, 51, but it could have been 60. I'll have to double check. But there's definitely a threshold as part of the policy.
I thought
I thought it was even higher than that, because I thought, for something like this where we're going to assess and cost somebody, force somebody to pay this money to do it, I thought we had a threshold that was even higher than 51. I thought we were up around.
It's 51%. It's on 2A, correct.
No, it says 51.
I thought we had a threshold in Harbor Oaks. I thought we talked about the threshold being at, somewhere north of 70 or 75.
Well, remember now, that there was some disagreement among the council on this. So you may have talked about it, but you didn't settle on anything above 51. I mean, you can change it now, but I remember that.
I think to do a whole neighborhood, I think that neighborhood needs to get a lot more than 51% buy-in. Before you're going to say, okay, we're going to do this and assess properties the cost of, the additional cost of doing this. I think the threshold needs to be definitely higher than 51%.
Mr. Poglaze.
Thank you. A little bit different situation, but it did require a higher threshold, was the traffic calming program that was widely popular in the city of Clearwater. But I think, as I recall, maybe you can help me, Mr. Maxwell, was that 65%?
Yes.
I think that
Yes.
was a 65% requirement.
Correct.
And again, there's no special tax assessment to do that, but everybody had to endure the devices, so.
I mean, I think the threshold for this a program such as Brick Streets, I think the threshold needs to be probably, I mean, I don't want to get ridiculous, but I think 75% buy-in for something like that. Because you got to have, you know, I mean, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars per homeowner to do this type of thing in an assessment. And, you know, for all of them to agree, I don't think 51% should be able to tell the other 49, you're going to pay tens of thousands of dollars when they're not interested in doing it. I think you need a much higher threshold.
I don't know that I'm comfortable with 75%, because if you don't get people responding, then that 75% becomes 80 or 90%. You know, would
Maybe two-thirds.
would two-thirds be okay with 66?
65, 66%, a two-thirds majority.
Just say 2/3.
It's got to be more than 51 in my book.
And then, you know, let's clarify that a little further. Do we mean 2/3 of the property owners, whether they vote or not vote, or 2/3 of the votes? Ms. Aiken?
Yes, sir. The way it's currently written is it's 51% of the property frontage, not necessarily the owners or the property owners. So you're looking at 51% of the frontage. So if someone has all of one street, that's still, you count their frontage, not the number of people voting. So if someone owns a 50-foot lot and someone else owns a 200-foot lot, you're not looking, you may have more 50-foot lots vote against it, but if the larger lots vote for it, you're looking at frontage feet.
Bigger stake, like corner
Yes.
lot.
A corner
Yes.
lot, yeah, corner lot.
Corner lot would be a great example. You may, if you want to make substantial substantive changes to this, you may want staff to come back and give you a more detailed discussion on it, because this was a lengthy discussion when you decided on this process.
It was very contentious.
It was very contentious, very lengthy, a lot of analysis. And so I think if you want to be substantively changing this, we should probably bring some of that discussion back to you.
Yeah, let's just pull the Brick Streets portion out of this,
Yeah.
I would say, for now, and for future discussion.
Okay?
Good. Renaming city
And
parks.
last item, policy 85, renaming city parks. Council members, the policy already currently exists. It was adopted back in 2009 by resolution. I'm just memorializing it in city council policies, given with recent staff changes. It gets difficult sometimes, people don't forget, so it was just easier to keep it there.
Okay. And this will be on the agenda for Thursday night, with the exception of the Brick Streets portion?
Yes, so my next question is, would you like me to, since there weren't any changes with the exception of Brick Streets, I can remove the Brick Streets language and place it on consent?
I'm okay with that.
Good.
There's no resolution.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. No, I was checking on how the language was for the letters to the properties, but.
Oh, well, no, that one will be, I'll leave it as
Leave
status
it
quo.
as is.
Yes.
Are you ready for the next one?
Yes.
7.5.
Approve the 2020 state legislative priorities. Council members, I've provided a copy of the legislative agenda that I will work with staff as well as our state lobbying team to make sure that they are being advocating on our behalf during the state session. I'm going to go over some of the changes from last year. The first bullet, provide full funding of the Florida State and Housing Local Trust Funds. I've added the following language: and ensure those funds be used exclusively for housing, knowing that they do raid the trust fund for other programs. This way, there's some language that not only do we want the full funding, but we want to make sure that They're used strictly for housing. The other items that I've added are establish a framework for a state water infrastructure and water quality funding program that includes sustainable utility practices and intergovernmental coordination, allow municipalities to establish smoke-free zones within the boundaries of a city park. There was legislation during the last session, and it has been filed again, and given the changes that we're looking at over at Coachman Park, but it would actually allow us to designate areas or smoke-free zones in any city-owned park if the legislation passes. Develop funding opportunities to coordinate state resiliency programs with those of local governments. Are there any questions? Those are the changes that staff is recommending.
Mr. Hamilton?
Well, I don't believe there's any legislation being introduced in Tallahassee, but I would almost add to our bullet list to support, and then we need to start communicating with our local delegation. I would like to see some changes made at the state level that will give local municipalities home rule over its local waterways. Talking about the derelict boats that are in our waterways along the causeway and in the bay and things of that. You know, it's our local water. Right now it's controlled by the state. I would like to see some sort of action taken where it would give us home rule over our local waterways so that we can address that type of thing.
Actually, I have, with staff, I think it was Mike Fuino, legal staff has informed me about some legislation. I've already approached our state lobbyists regarding the possibility of including the Mandalay Channel as part of some legislation that would address that issue. Right now, I'm waiting for her feedback, and I'm waiting for some specific feedback to see if the Mandalay Channel is actually permitted, if it's narrow enough for us to be included in that legislation.
But if we have that bullet point on our list and everybody gets this list up in Tallahassee or whatever, then it's there.
Okay, I'll draft some language for consideration on
I don't know
Thursday
if everybody
then.
else agrees with
I'm
me.
in agreement with that.
Okay.
I know that we're not the only municipality that's having issues with that, and everybody's trying to deal with it, so.
Part of the problem is that if it's in an intercoastal, then we're, have to deal with the federal laws also. So that could be some of the difficulty that we would encounter here. Okay. Mr. Conzo.
There's another area that both Ed Hooper and Chris Lotvala have mentioned, and also coming from the Suncoast Center, that funding for mental health every year is raided and used for other purposes. And it would be nice to show our support for funding for mental health.
I'll add a bullet as well for Thursday's consideration.
Okay.
Unrelated to the legislative package, I've also been approached by Clearwater, Amplify Clearwater, sorry about that, regarding are interested in hosting a Clearwater Day up in Tallahassee, December.
Oh, wait, excuse me one second. The issues to oppose.
No changes there.
But I have a question.
Sure.
Because you say changes to existing laws related to offshore oil drilling. But if those, and it says issues to oppose, but if it's to strengthen those laws, someone could interpret what we're saying as being opposed to that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we should be.
So I think it needs to
lessening
be
of
changes to existing, we oppose changes to existing laws which would weaken existing or, maybe not weaken. Okay.
I'll bring something
We
for
need
Thursday.
we need an
Okay.
adjective, which side you're opposing,
Okay.
okay?
I have a comment as well, if everybody's finished.
On the
Yeah.
list here? Yeah, go ahead. And Mr. Poglace.
Having served on the Homeless Leadership Board, I mean, they continually do it, and of course, we can't dictate what's going to happen at a state or federal level, but they continually raid the Sadowski Act, take away housing funds. I mean, that in the past has been, I think, been somewhere on the legislative party list. Is that?
It's the first bullet.
First one.
I just read it again, did I miss it?
You're a year older.
Oh, the Housing Trust Fund.
You're a year older.
Two. Yeah. Okay, it doesn't say Sadowski, but yeah, there you go. Okay.
Okay.
Got it, thank you.
All right.
Okay, so.
Amplify Clearwater.
Amplify Clearwater is requesting, or would like to know if there's any interest by council to assist them with their Clearwater Day in Tallahassee. It will be December 10th, and they're looking at meeting with legislators, but also they would like to coordinate a reception and would like to know if council would be interested in participating in the event. And I will work with them in terms of the logistics, in terms of getting there and.
I thought we had gotten a note that they were looking at a different date. Did I? Am I pulling Mr. Polglaze and have it?
This was the date that I was given, December 10th, but I can confirm that for Thursday.
Because I thought Patty had sent us a note saying that.
You say December 10th?
December 10th is when they're thinking about holding Clearwater Day. But I will confirm.
I think that would be good.
Okay.
Okay.
Anything else? I'll make those changes for Thursday then.
All right. So now we're going to go to 8.1. Ms. Aiken.
Approve a legal services agreement with J. Janio Esquire of, Trask Danio LLP for representation of the Community Development Board, Building and Flood Board of Adjustment and Appeals, Nuisance Abatement Board, and authorize the appropriate officials to execute same. Mr. Danio currently represents those boards. He has been representing them for a number of years now. We're renewing that agreement. He also asked for a $10 increase per hour to his rate, which I think is extremely reasonable given what his rate is.
Okay. Any questions? Consent?
Yep.
8.2, 8.3, 8.4, 8.5, all the way down through 8.14 are second or third readings. Any questions on the rest of the agenda under the city attorney's office? They will all be on our agenda for Thursday night then. 9.1, Mr. Horn.
Waterfront redevelopment update, Coachman Park, North Marina, Mr. Delk.
Michael Delk, Assistant City Manager. Going to run you through here very briefly kind of an update on some of our initiatives. I want to start off with one that we're I think easy to forget about as we march towards getting under construction with the waterfront downtown property, but that is that we are nearing the tail end of the North Marina redevelopment project. And I would actually like to, this project has turned out extremely well. To the credit of Tom Mahoney in engineering and Ed Chesney, Director of Marine and Aviation. And so I would like for Tom and Ed to come up and kind of give you a current status of where we are with that and some of the timing things as we wrap this project up. So Tom.
Morning, Council. Tom Mahoney, Engineering. So we started this project back in March of this year, and it's pretty much wrapping up now. We're ahead of schedule. There was considerable upgrades in the parking lot. So there was additional parking added with stormwater upgrades for water quality. Right now, all the paving, landscaping has been completed. There was an upgrade in the lighting for the entire lot. There was also was added was a 12-foot wide promenade around the entire waterfront area with shade structures and site furnishings for seating and whatnot. There's also an additional park area that was added, a green space with a shell walkway and landscaping and shade structures as well. Right now left to do is the site furnishings are ordered and on their way here to be installed. We'll be bringing the restroom contract to you at the next meeting that will construct the permanent elevated restrooms that will be right next to the slips. And then Ed Chesney is going to talk a little bit about the day docks going in and also the kayak launch. I'll answer any questions if you got them.
Any questions of Mr. Mahoney? Great.
Okay.
Good morning, Ed Chesney, engineering, formerly engineering, marine and aviation. I still got that in my head. I just want to start out to talk about how smoothly this project has transpired. You know, we entered this at a time where it took over the whole boating season. Had we started it now, it could have affected 2 boating seasons, and that was a concern. So we're going to finish early. And when we got the contract with Nelson, one of the things that I really wanted to do for the community was not to close down the ramps. And I would always tell everybody, when we give a water construction contract, they are in control of the site. They really worked with the city to keep the ramps open with really little conflict. At first it was a little dicey, but as people realized that this soon would pass, it really worked out well. So I want to give credit to engineering, their inspectors that were out there, Tom, and even the users of the ramp that really helped make that happen. So also at the same time, you know, people are always wondering, okay, when is this project going to be complete? Well, it was always envisioned as 3 phases, 3 separately bidded phases. Phase 1 is basically complete, as Tom said. Phase 2 will come to you for the restroom. And then phase 3 were these floating docks. Now, we had run into some issues with submerged land ownership during that permitting, so we've paused on that. That is nearing completion, the ownership issue and how we're going to address that. The permitting to the state and to the Army Corps of Engineers, the package is pretty much ready. We're going to have to update it and do some things. We submitted it, we had to pull it back because of time. You can't have those applications just sitting there. So we will resubmit once we get the submerged ownership piece under control. Legal is working on that right now. And that's the first of the other water access. We have kayak launch, a beach there that we're going to turn into a kayak launch. And these boat slips actually protect the kayakers as they go out. So I really don't see that being too open, you know, before the slips are in. Now, people can go down there and launch a kayak when they want, but we're actually going to put the floating docks there that when you go out, you'll be directed towards the west and to the north. We don't want conflicts with the boats coming into the ramp, the kayaks, the kayak conflict. That was an issue with the downtown marina, bringing kayaks downtown. So the design was for the slips, the added slips, the day docks to protect the kayakers when they come in and leave. And also with the mangroves there, we're trimming the mangroves down to a level where we can see the kayakers and the boats, because right now they're too tall. And we have the ability with the state and the county to trim those and maintain them at a level of safety for the users of the ramp. Right now, when you're right at the tip there, you're obscured by these tall mangroves. So we're going to start trimming those per the regulations and maintain them throughout the process there. So that's kind of the update with those 2 phases, if you have any other questions.
What I heard there is you can trim mangroves.
Yeah. But he said, no, he said per regulation.
Absolutely.
Per regulation.
But, you know, we got a lot of mangroves along the Clearwater Causeway that can be trimmed.
We never said you couldn't trim them. It's the authority to trim them. That was the issue.
Per regulation.
Probably 50% of them are mangroves.
It's always hard to know what goes on behind the scenes, but I'll tell you, this project is better than we started out anticipating that it would be, in large part to Tom and Ed's diligence and some support from legal on some of the ownership issues with the. So I think, you know, we're going to be in a position to exceed expectations when this project is completely done. The only way to turn this home run into a grand slam is maybe through some conversations we'll have with you next year in the budget process, where we're going with the Fort Harrison Street, complete street redo, and some of the trail improvements and connections, which really constitute a much less expensive but nevertheless important component to the second phase of the North Marina. But by then we'll be well under construction with the downtown area. So. Let me move on to the next item, the North Ward School. Where we are, we've met with the architects. We have seen and reviewed a number of concepts for the facility and the opportunity for renovation of the building for mixed use. Could include some restaurants, kind of a food hall type of scenario.
some meeting hall and space for the community up there, art maker space possibly on the second floor. And as you're aware, there's a theater up there, so certainly that area is conducive to some arts activities. Really a good multi-use space, and as well as some opportunity possibly to market some limited amount of office space in the facility. Looks like the site can accommodate a small boutique hotel or some other limited residential use on the property, so I think we've got an opportunity to market that there. What I think we may find, and we'll bring back to you for a little deeper discussion, is what renovations we may want to initiate on our own to kind of prepare the building for marketing for some of these other activities. If you are familiar at all with the food hall in the area of Waterworks in Tampa, there along the river, you know, there was a lot of renovation and preparation of that site. I remember the first time I saw that, there was one small meeting room and the rest of the building was pretty much unfinished and just empty. But I think they prepared the building, they got the building so it was ready to go. They could then attract tenants and users. We're already generating some interest from the community out there for some restaurants and other uses on the property. So I think that kind of bodes well for that. And we'll bring you those details, the architecturals and that sort of thing. We'll talk about those publicly, and then, but we may want to recommend to you somewhere along the line that we initiate some of that work. It'll certainly make the marketing of the property a lot easier. One of the things that I think some of the scenarios we've seen is it kind of reorients the back of house to be a much more of a front door and a public space and use area outdoors. Patio example off of maybe potentially a food hall facing to the west in the waterfront and the marina area, and really doing more to try to tie that building into the marina even as it keeps a front door and courtyard facing Fort Harrison. So I think my main takeaway to you right now is that this historic structure has a lot of potential to really be a jewel in this neighborhood, and so I think you'll be able to see some of that when we bring back some of the architecturals and the development scenarios. The economic analysis, HR&A is very close to finishing that work. We should have that, you know, probably within the next week or so. I would anticipate. They've done some conceptual site renderings of all the bluff properties, so pretty much, you know, we've talked about those in some of our one-on-one meetings as well as publicly on several occasions. You know, I think we've had a little bit of conversation about the kind of what the bottom line of the economic analysis is, and that is that we're relatively weak or anemic from a standpoint of our values in terms of getting the kind of development that we want. So I think we need to, you know, our objectives will continue to remain in focus in terms of creating value downtown and trying to capture that value in a way that will encourage private sector economic development, which is really not where we're being terribly successful at the moment. So I think, you know, this will start to pull that together along with the development of the park itself. The marketing of the upland properties, the current value or picture of our economic status. So, you know, we'll need to talk about that more. All this will be done and wrapped up kind of at the end, before the end of this year. So this is what we'll kind of be ending our conversations for 2019 on. Library enhancement. Talked to Williamson Dakar last week. They still anticipate concluding the permit drawings in January, and we will get the project you know, submitted for permit as quickly as possible in the first quarter of 2020. So hopefully we'll certainly be under construction with that. I think we'll have a construction manager on board very soon who will help us to manage that process along with the upcoming park redevelopment itself. So That project is going well. We presented this to the entire library staff. We've had some posters and displays up in the library lobby, kind of making everybody aware. When we go out to the public meetings, what I may try to do is to incorporate some virtual reality into those public meetings, because Williamson Dakar has done some of that work for the library, and I will tell you that the way that appears from the new public, what I call the civic space up in the roof, is really spectacular. It's as you would expect, and we should expect, for the amount of cost of doing that. We are going to have a really, I think, an incredible public space, extraordinarily usable and attractive space at the top of the library when we're done. So hopefully we can show that to the community when they come out at our public meetings. We'll go over the dates with those here in just a few minutes. The bridge lighting project, our consultant actually now is a member of the team of Lochner, the original consultant with the DOT background or work experience. So they have the work order to work on the final design and construction of what the bridge lighting is going to look like. That design has to come back to you for your approval before we can make application to FDOT. So probably late spring, early summer, we'll be getting that to you. Is what the estimate is right now, 180 days, so actually probably a little sooner than that. We'll get that back to you for your approval so that we can, we'll immediately be ready to roll that into an application with DOT. And so we'll start to have more specifics on the design and the cost of the implementation and that sort of thing. So that leads me to Coachman Park redevelopment. 30% plans are submitted under review by staff. You are going to be seeing, I think, this week, a 3D presentation from the HRNA folks as to what the park looks like. You'll be able to walk through different view areas and corridors and angles from the bridge and anywhere in the park that you want to see it from. You can just tell them and they can kind of take you there and give you a sense of what that looks like in total. They can turn on and off the covered seating area, so if you want to see band, shell, and then all the back of house stuff absent the covered seating, they can show you that as well. We are currently, I've asked staff to take a look at, and we are working on a complete list of the assessment of the current and its anticipated use for the park and amphitheater. We're going to discuss this with you in more detail at the second meeting in November or the first December meeting. There are management and fiscal implications of this I think we need to kind of talk through. The number of event days, if you add them all up, including the city events that we can do, and these are all things that we've talked about wanting to do with the amphitheater approach. These add up to 128 to 140 some days a year of impact, use impact days. So I think, we want to talk through that with you. We want to talk about we need to revisit. We've had some of this information provided in the past, but the number of FTEs required for a facility of this size, what that means to us, and we probably also, some of our partners who have expressed the greatest interest in using this facility. As I don't need to tell you, there's no participation there in capital costs, but I think we would at this point, from a staff standpoint, have an anticipation that you would want to recover operational costs when we lease out this facility for use by others. And so there are no assurances that we have in terms of the level of use that these partners want to bring to the table. So this is speculatory at this point, or speculative, but we want to kind of walk you through what those operational numbers and characteristics are so that you have an idea of what we're looking at in terms of this, the use of this facility. Timelines are unchanged. plans be completed. I think Stantec is still targeting May 2020. I always hesitant to say too much about the timing because so many things are flexible and changeable in that area, but I think they're really trying to look at, from a utility standpoint, things that we can get started on a little sooner rather than later, but generally the target is for the completion of those plans by May 2020 is where we are currently. It's not really changed. The Park Board, I think, has completed the review of the park renaming and recommended approval, or they're getting ready to at that meeting. So, I don't know, is Kevin? Tomorrow. So we'll have that, we'll know that by Thursday night. That's it. Any questions? Otherwise, that's kind of where we are at the moment. And we'll have, I expect, much more detail on the use of the venue at the next meeting or two, as well as some other items for you.
Mr. Hamilton.
Mike, I appreciate the presentation, but I want to get clarification, and I want to make sure for people that are, heard what you said. When you talk about 140, 150 days of impact, there's different levels of impact. That doesn't mean the park is going to be closed 150 days out of 365.
That is absolutely
That means
true.
there is different levels of impact that will be taking place, but that doesn't mean that the park will be closed. And I want to make sure everybody understands that.
Park will not be closed.
Exactly. So.
If I could segue off that, I'd like to consider it being said in a way that it's guaranteed to have 150 days of active occupancy.
Well, we hope it achieves 365 days.
Well, agreed, but I mean, there's another way to state the 150 days too.
That's where the prize is.
Exactly.
You can get people down there every day.
All year.
Thank you.
Yeah, hold on, let me check it. Y'all okay?
Yeah.
Let me, I can't help myself but throwing out a thank you to the school board and Dr. Grego for working with us on the North Ward and the Clearwater High School project. When we first started talking about this downtown redevelopment, I had suggested that we include the North Marina District because I felt like if we could do something there, it may help us in our downtown work. And the school board, had this property and they were willing to work with us. And what you're saying about the interest there, I think just reiterates and strengthens the argument that we've had in that, there is some potential there that has been untapped since all of us were little kids growing up, in Clearwater and Tarpon, because that North Marina District is a gem. And it's just been laying there to be uncovered and discovered. So the school board has given us that opportunity, and I just wanted to thank them again publicly for that support, because if we get this done, it's going to help us with everything else that we're trying to do. Thank you, Mr. Delk. As Mr. Hamilton said, having these updates from you on a regular basis has been most beneficial for all of us.
And if I may, Mayor, in one quick moment, let me.
Only if it was your birthday last week and you forgot something too.
What's that?
Only if it was your birthday last week.
You're going to let this go.
It's not my birthday. Soon, though, soon. I want to mention the dates real quick for publicly. We've settled on some dates for the public outreach for the this round of the 30% plan review. And so we have reserved the following: Downtown Library Council Chambers, 6 to 8 p.m. on December 3rd. Countryside Library Meeting Room, 6 to 8 on December 4th. Let's see here. We're going to schedule a weekday event. We'll have more for you on that. We may end up as well having a weekend event. We're working on a weekend or weekday event at North Greenwood area. Let me hold off on the dates for that right now, and a downtown library or weekend event here. So, but certainly December 3 and 4, and we're going to start marketing those and getting that word out there on these dates soon. So.
Mr. Albright?
I was real excited last week in our meeting that you told me the Stantec 30% had come in, the plans, and I did go to SharePoint. I wouldn't be able to find them. Is that something that's not available on SharePoint?
Tara? Huge files, they're not easily manageable because of their size.
Yes, we've actually been using SharePoint for some internal staff review. The actual problem is more the capabilities of the computer that you're opening them, because it can be very slow. But if you would like access, it is on SharePoint.
Okay,
So
well,
we
I'll
can-
get with you and find out.
Yeah, we can send a link to.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Mr.
Thank you.
Publix.
Mr. Delco, have we considered, just for, I don't know, maybe a wider audience, a captured attendance group of the community library at St. Pete College for one of the presentations? I mean, we've been trying to engage young people, and it may be, if it's all posted there,
At
is
the
that a
library?
consideration? I mean, have we thought of that at all?
We didn't really think of that in terms of a venue for it. We looked at some of the city facilities, other city
I mean, I know
facilities.
that in proximity, this is probably convenient for everybody, but.
But, we can take a look at that, see what the opportunity is. I mean, not
Value
every
there.
meeting date is nailed down, so the 3rd and the 4th, those are a couple of dates that we've scheduled. So just wanted to mention them, but we can take a look at that.
Thank you.
Yeah, certainly.
11.1.
I think she's just giving you a briefing, I don't know.
Yeah.
Good morning, Mayor and Council. Today, we are here to discuss salary for the city manager and city attorney positions. At the October 3rd, 2019 council meeting, the council reviewed the performance evaluation of both of those positions, and it's typical that a subsequent meeting that you would discuss pay. So, as was discussed at our one-on-one meetings, the Human Resources Department has updated the standard analysis that's performed every year in regards to those two positions. We provided traditional jurisdiction matches that include both county and city matches. I'm going to briefly just go through that spreadsheet that was provided to you. I'm going to start with the city manager position and go through all of that, and then I will do the same analysis for the city attorney position. So in comparison of the city manager position to other local jurisdictions of similar size and similar nature, the city manager position is showing to be 14.1% behind the market in actual salary. Using those same comparators, however, removing the county jurisdictions from that, the city manager position remains 7.3% behind actual salaries for those jurisdictions. We also did a comparison for the city manager position, looking at similar sized cities across the state of Florida in comparison for similar populations. That showed that the city manager position is 12.6 behind the actual salaries of those jurisdictions. Additionally, we did a comparison for the city manager position with similar size employee counts. And in that comparison, the city manager position is 5.2% behind the market in terms of actual salaries. No questions. I'm going to move on and go through that same for the city attorney. Yes, sir.
Well, as I said during our meeting, it's still on here.
Yes.
Back in college, you always heard the term the curve wrecker. Well, when you look at Miami Beach on here, the Miami Beach position is a curve wrecking position. I mean, 300. It's a 300 plus annual salary, where everyone else is in the low twos, basically. So that one position kind of skews some of the numbers to a degree.
It does, and so I left that in there just because that's one of the jurisdictions that's been on it historically. But I do have the information if you would like to hear what it is if I remove Miami Beach. So if you take out the Miami Beach salary for the city manager position, the actual salary is 7.8% behind the actual salaries of all those other jurisdictions. That's the one for population. Miami Beach was also in there for the employee count, and if you remove it for the employee count, it then brings that our actual salary is 0.5% above the average salary. Any other questions before I move on to the analysis for the city attorney? So in looking at the actual salary for the city attorney for those same jurisdictions that are local to us, the actual salary is 9% behind the market. That's for both city and counties. If we remove the counties from that analysis, the actual salary is 4.6% behind the market for actual salaries. Then if we go by population for around the state for similar sized cities by population, it's 11.1% behind the market for actual salaries. And then if you do the same analysis by employee count for the city attorney position, it is 4% behind the market. Now, I can remove the Miami Beach from the city attorney analysis as well. And going to the population analysis, if Miami Beach is taken out, the actual salary remains 3.7% behind the market. And then if you do the same calculation by employee count and remove Miami Beach, the actual salary is 3.5% ahead of the market.
Can we go back a second, because one of your charts is off. For the city attorney, data minus county jurisdictions, you have Tampa's population as 1,380,645,000. And what's happened is when you inputted the numbers on the chart, you went Orange County, you gave to Tampa, you gave to St. Petersburg you gave to Orlando, and down. So I don't know whether that changes these numbers.
It wouldn't change the salary numbers for it.
Okay, it's just the population
It's just
numbers.
the population number,
Okay,
yeah, and we were
okay,
just
but
comparing
that
Yeah,
needs
we'll
to be
get that
corrected.
fixed.
Yeah,
Thank you.
okay. I'm sorry, just.
Oh, yeah, no, thank you. Thank you very much for pointing that out. The other information that was provided to you all was just the historical annual salary increases that have been provided for both of those positions. I'll be happy to answer any other questions.
Okay. Well, we'll just have this discussion Thursday night then. We'll discuss it Thursday, unless there's a specific question on the charts or the information. Okay? Great, thank you.
No problem.
Okay. Okay, I'm confused. No, we're at 10:30, right? Because this clock has 8:30 here. Okay. Okay. 11.2, Mr. Poglaze.
Thank you, Mayor. Council, I wanted to have a public discussion with you in light of the fact that Imagine Clearwater is moving along nicely. The 30% plan is going to be reviewed and shown to the public. Talking about the parking garage and the needs of the future of downtown, I think there was no disagreement that we will need a downtown parking garage. And the reason I wanted to have this, and I know staff is currently working on some analysis of a few different sites, but as I recall, we had a preferred site for the parking garage. That decision was made, not necessarily a city hall, which I know we've got a time frame on that discussion as well. We'd really like to move that dialogue along. But talking about the parking garage, and in light of the fact that hopefully within a year we'll have not just one RFP coming back to us with the Harborview site, but also the City Hall site and the site south of that, known as the CMA property. So I wanted to have a public conversation. I wanted to be more proactive than reactive, and CRA director was kind enough to facilitate a phone conversation with me, with our consultant who was out of state, to answer several questions. But I still wasn't 100% comfortable with all of the responses, and that's why I wanted to share it with you. We're going to need, and it was also shared with me that it's kind of like a living, breathing document. It'll change as we're successful and as a deficit occurs in parking and we need more, that we could address it then. But I thought some key things were important to discuss at least now that we're moving forward and that we're going to be losing some parking. We're going to lose the CMA lot, hopefully within a year or 2 years, and we're going to be losing the City Hall lot. So that takes quite a few parking spots just right off immediately. So what I wanted to do was, I think it's kind of important, and I wanted to see how you guys felt about at least, do we still have the preferred site? What would be a time frame in light of the fact we're going to be losing spots sooner rather than later? How many? Is the parking analysis correct? And it all goes back to being proactive instead of reactive and having a plan that's complementary to what we're doing. And the only thing I wanted to highlight just about 3 different points on this parking study, and I know we've been over it multiple times and staff's been over it, but I still have questions, and I know many in the private sector still have questions. And for instance, under the executive summary, event parking demand analysis, it says that because we're still going to be doing events even when construction starts, that Clearwater is going to displace city-owned parking, 6 city-owned parking facilities totaling 692 spots. Within the parking analysis, I still wasn't clear on which of those 6 city facilities are going away. And then within that study also, there was nowhere could I find the City Hall and the CMA parking spaces. They were not counted in the total number of displaced parking, yet we're using them now. And then in addition to that, page 18, future parking demand, it states that there are only 12,850 square feet of vacant restaurant space. I'd like to have identified the exact restaurant spaces that are vacant and what is the restaurant industry parking demand for every 1,000 square feet of occupied restaurant. Page 20 within the parking study, and I don't really expect answers today. I just wanted to highlight this to my colleagues and let staff look at this again. On page 20, it shows on figure 13 how phase 1 and 2, because I remember when Michael Delt came on board, we're going to phase this, but in phase 1 and 2, how is that going to affect the available parking? Didn't the scope of phase 1 change, and will that displacement of the City Hall and the CMA site parking expedite the parking deficit that is reflected in table, page 4, table 19, or excuse me, page 19, table 4. So I think having that discussion and identifying where it's going to be, how big is it going to be, more accurately as opposed to a living, breathing document, well, typically it's 500, and if we're more successful, I think the number is actually far greater than the number we list. And if we're only successful enough to get 500 new parking spots, then I think we're not being very optimistic and hoping for a bigger success within this project and everything we're doing downtown. So question 1, do we still have the same preferred site? Question 2, approximately when are we considering codifying that conversation, and how many spots is it? And I still am not a believer that 500 spots within 10 years really reflects where we should be. Thank you.
Okay. Do we have staff wanting to say anything? Okay, all right. Okay.
It was a discussion for the council.
All right, okay. Mr. Albrecht.
I think that's a great idea, being more proactive than reactive on this. I mean, it's something we've been talking about for a long time. Knowing that Imagine Clearwater was going to take place and all the parking we're losing there. We had a parking study. I know that we do have preferred parking sites, but we really hadn't had that conversation on council yet. And I think it's a good time to have it with the conversation about where City Hall is going to be. I mean, it kind of fits together to me that we should be having both that conversation, and we should be looking at the future because I do agree that we are going to be successful downtown. I still have that in my heart. You know, I'll say it again. I remember growing up here in downtown Clearwater as a child. I was very proud, which is odd to say because kids aren't usually proud of their city, that we had such a vibrant city here. And I know it can happen again, and with this, imagine Clearwater project's gonna bring in not only downtown people, but countryside, and it's gonna be a regional thing. It's gonna be I see it in my vision, I see this actually happening, and it's really going to light up our waterfront. So, yes, I don't wanna wait till the last minute, at least my feeling is, let's start talking about plans now and making arrangements for the future.
Mr. Kondo.
Yes, and I agree with both of the gentlemen here. My concern is that we don't have the reports yet from the city on City Hall location, and if we go too far as a council in discussing or trying to name a place before we know what our staff is recommending, my recommendation is to wait for those reports, and then as soon as we hear those reports, continue this discussion in relation to parking and the site. And I think the sooner we can do that, the better.
I guess I'm gonna come at this from a whole different way, because I kind of, instead of waiting on staff, I thought one of our jobs was to give staff recommendations and give staff information and our ideas. But, I mean, I won't sugarcoat it. We're going to need more parking in downtown Clearwater. We've absolutely, nobody can deny the need for parking in downtown with what's being taken away. As far as location, to me, there's only one location. But to make it happen, we've got to finish negotiations with the PSTA. I don't know what the status of that is, and I don't know that there's an update as of today yet of that status. But because where the PSTA bus terminal in downtown Clearwater is today, if you take that location and you build a parking garage on that location, size to be determined, but I don't disagree with you that 500 might not be enough. I'm not someone who's going to think that our parking needs are going to diminish overnight due to alternative transportation and everything else. Those all things coming in the future. But I think it needs to be more than 500. And that location is a 2-block walk to anything and everything in downtown Clearwater. So I would challenge anybody to show me a better physical location for that use, for that need. So that being said, we're not ready to make any decisions or anything like that, but it's something for us to move forward on. Now, then the question becomes, if you build a parking garage on there, do we want to put City Hall on top of that as a location, or do we want to have a freestanding City Hall somewhere else in downtown Clearwater? I look forward to that discussion at the appropriate time, but now, we're not here today to discuss that, so.
I've got to share some thoughts that all of y'all have mentioned. First off, we do talk about alternative modes of transportation and trying to get people to use alternative modes of transportation. So to build if parking garages made money, we wouldn't be having this conversation because the private sector would be building parking garages. But parking garages don't make money. It was mentioned earlier today that, one of our garages has 250 vacant spaces. Well, then your deficit that you're talking about is all of a sudden less than what it is if you've got 250 vacant spaces in a parking garage that you've already got built. So I think having this discussion of where we want a parking garage tomorrow, having that discussion today is a little bit too early. There's a lot of things that need to get done to make sure that the parking garage has the best usage. And a lot of people are going to disagree that a parking garage now is not the right time, not the right time. There are obvious several locations. We do need to have some more information from staff to try to make an intelligent decision, because it's an expensive decision. that we're going to make. And while it's going to come from the parking revenues and not the property taxes, correct? I am correct on that, right? You know, it's still going to be a big ticket item, and we need to make sure that we do it right. But there are lots of locations out there. They've been identified. People know where they are, and we'll just see what happens, you know, in a year. They're more. We need to get Imagine Clearwater off the ground. The parking garage isn't the first thing that we need to be talking about to get started.
Well, I agree with what you said, but it doesn't happen overnight, so we do need to start talking about it and not wait till it's upon us that we need to be talking about it, and it's correct, we need to have input from staff, and we need to have conversation, but even the conversations aren't going to happen in one meeting. I mean, it's going to be several meetings and probably a pretty good amount of time. I can tell you this, I am on the PSTA board, and PSTA is looking to move to our spot on the intermodal center that we have had planned for 5 or 6 years. But again, it's a money situation. They've got to figure out how they're getting funding. Right now, the plans of it are being drawn. So that part of it is moving. It's not that hasn't, we don't have to wait for that to happen. But it's not something that happens overnight. So I think the more we talk about it and get details worked out, the better.
Let me correct you, but PSTA has been talking about moving for more than 5 years.
Well, the original plan that was longer than 5 years ago was staying where they were and having a county-city combination site right there, on Garden and Park. Now, their thought is to move over to Court and Myrtle. They've already have plans and working with the city now to come up with a viable plan for an intermodal center, which is very important. Because all the plans coming together for this whole region, one of the big plans is having bus service coming from Tampa. And so we need to be ready when that happens and I thought that I wasn't here on council when the council said that is a good site to have for an intermodal center, which I thought it is. But they've been talking about it for a long time, and it takes a long time for plans to happen. I mean, just look at DOT projects. You start talking about it now, they don't happen for 10, 15 years. Because design has to happen, land has to be bought, funding has to be got, and I know a lot of the things that we talk about here don't happen overnight. So
let's clarify one thing. Staff has been talking to us about parking, for years. Okay? We're not initiating that conversation today, and I don't want the public to think that we haven't been talking or thinking about parking in downtown.
Absolutely.
So that, that perception has got to be erased.
Right. And I don't disagree, but if I could also interject, we went through 2 iterations of a parking study. It came back, and that's as far as we went. We haven't really talked about it since then. The agreement was that, yes, we will be needing a downtown parking garage. And that's kind of where we left it. The conversations have not went further than that. And the key point for me is if we do anticipate the rest of our sites on the bluff. Mr. Delk even said that all of the bluff properties now have some architectural renderings, what possibly may be here, that we're going to be seeing at this 30%. So if we're pulling those 2 large parking lots off the table within, even if it's 2 to 3 years, we really do have to have this more aggressive, and I don't disagree, not waiting for staff analysis, but where are these spots that we're going to be losing going to come from? I wasn't satisfied with the results and the answers from that. And so, Mr. Horn, I'll give you this because there are still some questions on here when we're done, but there's 13,000 square feet of restaurant space downtown. If you look at the restaurant formula, how many parking spots? 4,000 per 1,000 feet, there's not a correlation in the numbers. So that's where I brought the point up, how big? We need to get some type of agreement or better understanding. Do we agree on 500, or is that not the appropriate number?
Right, here's where I'm getting confused. You come down to downtown Clearwater on a Tuesday night, you're not going to have trouble finding a parking spot. Now, okay?
Right.
You're talking about building something, right now, the need isn't there. We can have the conversation, and staff can be considering locations. But to come and say that we want to build a parking space at this location now, I'm not understanding.
I'm not saying building it tomorrow or next year.
Well,
but
you are, because what's more important? Imagine Clearwater started or spending hours talking about a parking garage. Right now, the majority of the year, there is no problem in parking. It may not be across the street or in front of your restaurant's door, but it's here. It was said earlier, we have 250 spaces that are vacant right now, in addition to all these other spaces that are vacant. So I'm not understanding what the problem is with what staff is doing and trying to present to us, and the purpose of another conversation.
Well, I think the 250, if I'm correct, that you're referring to they're already rented spots that aren't currently being used. So you have absentee owners that rent spots in the Garden Street garage. And we've talked about overselling, so I don't know that.
But at night, it's free parking for anybody.
Right. The point is, I think they're interrelated conversations where, yes, we intend to be very successful with Imagine Clearwater. We have an RFP coming back for the Harborview site. All I'm saying is to delay the conversations about where it's going to be or possibly how big it's going to be and when. I'm not saying come up with permitted in plans, just do we still agree that's going to be the site? And do we have a better idea, a more accurate idea of how many we may need? Because if we wait until we're successful, the RFP comes back, and we've taken away the Harborview site and the City Hall site, and we haven't had those conversations well, yeah, there's where it's going to be. Maybe this is how big it's going to be. But, how do you establish a time frame when you're going to need it if you don't have the conversation?
But you may have others in the community who are private developers wanting to develop in a different part of the community. And so that may impact a decision of where you would want to put a parking garage.
Since you brought that up, I want to add to the fact that even if we don't put a City Hall on top of this parking garage, there may be development interest to build residential on top of this parking garage. So until we have that conversation and decide where it's going to be, that interest isn't being able to get generated in the community.
I think we'll end this conversation with this thought. Saturday night, we were at an event at the Martin Luther King Center. And Mr. Horn, you're going to do a better job of repeating what President Williams said about having a meeting, and then you go outside and have an after meeting, one or two, and then somebody else has an after meeting, and then you come back and have a before meeting talking about what happened at the after meeting so that you're ready to talk about what's going to happen at the next meeting. And we can sit and talk and talk. The point being that you sit and talk and talk and talk and never walk the walk. Let's give our staff an opportunity to get this project started. Let's give the private sector that owns all this property in downtown Clearwater an opportunity to communicate to us what they think they need to do with their property to help revitalize downtown Clearwater for the betterment of the entire community. And then we will be able to make a much more intelligent decision as to where a parking garage should be, and whether we need one garage or two garages spread out to service the entire downtown. Because if you build a 500 parking garage in one place, somebody's going to complain because it's not close to them. And you may need 250 unit parking garages. Mr. Horn.
Mayor, if I could just make one comment, I think at least from the staff perspective, we know all of you are ripe for a more in-depth conversation about City Hall and parking garage and how that fits. The internal group is working on how best to provide you that analysis. It's also the same group that is doing other priorities that you have asked us to focus on. So we're trying to move as quickly as we can to come back to you with a analysis that will then allow you to kind of come to some decisions, as to where you want to go. You all are not all in complete agreement on this topic. So that's another challenge we have in making sure that our analysis then allows you to come together on some decisions. But just talking to all of you, some of you have a preference over here, some of you have a preference over there, and we know you all have to coalesce around something, and that's what we're going to do.
Thank you, Mr. Poglise. Mr. Albritton.
Mayor, before he makes a comment, can I just make a comment? I just want to point out to all of you, because of the significance of this topic and the importance of it, not only to Councilmember Albritton, but to the staff as well. The group that's sitting on the left is staff who actually are actively involved in the development review activities from a staff and administration perspective. I felt this was so important that I wanted representatives of them, because we didn't close our offices, but we do have a good portion of the people who are actually doing this work to hear your conversation around this. And so that's who's sitting there on the left. And that way, when we move forward from this conversation, I think it will be helpful for us to achieve the goals and expectations that you all are expressing, and Council Albritton has expressed to me, both in conversation and in writing. So I just want to make sure you're aware.
Having heard that, before we start, it's almost 2 hours, so let's take a recess and reconvene at 10:05, because you're not going to finish in 5 minutes. Like to reconvene the work session of November the 4th, agenda item 11.2, Mr. Albritton.
Thank you, Mayor. You know, I was a contractor for 39 years, and I pretty much lived in the building department. And I want to say this up front, I'm not here to throw any staff under the bus. Staff always did a great job for me, but I think we have some things with the building department that a system that could be fixed. And the reason I'm saying this, I've had a lot of people come to me over the years and say that Clearwater's one of the hardest places to get a permit, or reviews are tough, or this. And even when I was on other boards, the DDB, we'd attract people into Clearwater, and they'd say, yeah, we're really excited about coming down to Clearwater, and then we wouldn't hear from them, and they said, well, I went down to the building department, and they sure didn't roll out the red carpet for me, and they, you know, it was one thing or another that they would leave and go somewhere else. And that goes back, I'm talking 6, 7 years ago. And I've always been vocal about, well, is there a way that we can maybe make it a little more attractive? Now, I know this was a current concern back when I was on the
Business task.
Yeah, the business task force. That was back in 2011, and we had a big group of people that sat down, and it was concerning to all of them. And they were like, yeah, we have some issues that we need to. So we came up with some ideas over a year of meeting that we gave to council at the time. And we were hoping that we could change the system. One of the things that I know that I hear a lot is somebody will come in for a review, and I'm not talking about just a homeowner with a room addition, but even bigger developers. They come in, and the way that things work is they submit a plan, the plan goes through review, comments are made on the plan, and then sent back to the developer for responses or to fix certain things on the plan. And that's all well and good. But when they fix those items and it comes back to the building department and it's reviewed again, I don't have a problem with a review on the things that were fixed to be in compliance with code, but to come up with new things that were on the original plan for them to address, and then that go on for 4 or 5 times, I have an issue with that. I think we should be instigating more of a one bite of the apple rule. Take a little more time if needed to review that. And I know that staff, they're very hardworking. They have a lot of building permits, especially now when the economy's good. They try to get these things reviewed and back out in a timely manner. Perhaps take a little more time, because what happens is, for the developers and people in private enterprise, time is money. And if they have to submit a review, it's 6 weeks, you come back with comments, it's going to be another 6 weeks to get those comments, and 8, 10 sets of plans redone. And then it goes on and accumulates. So what I would suggest is, and I've been talking to Bill about this for some time, and I said, look, can we talk about this with council? And maybe I would be willing to sit down with staff and come up, maybe there's some ways that we could come up with this where we only review it once in a certain time frame. And also, is there something else that could help staff? Maybe different, maybe computer programs. I know that these big developers come in with a stack of plans, big plans, big rolls and stacks of paper for, let's say, a hotel. And you've got to go through all of that, and there should be comments that on every page, perhaps, maybe not, but, and then for them to have to reprint all those plans over and over again and bring them in, I think our sustainability person we have would have a problem with that. So why can't we also implement a software program that these developers can submit? I know they can already with up to a certain amount of pages, I think, but if there's 20 or 30 or 50 pages of a big project that's coming in, allow them to be able to submit that electronically. Save on paper, save on time. They don't have to go through the process again about reprinting them every time they come in. So that was just a couple of things that I think could help maybe make it a little more friendly as a system. It's not that I'm coming up with this now. I've been talking about this for a long time. A different approach. I know one of the things that the Business Task Force said that perhaps we should have an ombudsman in the building department that would represent more of an intermediate person that would be there when these developers or even homeowners come in. And look, I know as a contractor, every year, I mean, the codes change, and the fire codes change, and the electric codes change, the building codes change, and it's hard for staff to keep up. It's hard for contractors to keep up, much less staff, but staff has to know it all, and they've got to be able to know not only the Florida codes, but what's in our code, our development code, and interpret that in a way that they can approve projects to go in Clearwater. And I'm not saying to make it any less on that front, but the system on how they review it, I think could help. It shouldn't be any worse than anywhere else. And it's heavy on my heart to see when I'm talking with people, and I'm always promoting Clearwater, and I go, well, I'd go there, but if I have to go through the building department, that's going to be another thing. And I just think that if we could be a little more friendly, maybe this ombudsman, and I know we have one now because they didn't follow the exact way that we wanted to do it, but we do have an ombudsman, and I hear good things on some developers that yes, he's very helpful on being able to take care of problems, but when a person comes in, let's say a homeowner, and he's got a plan to put an addition on the back of his house, and I can tell you this from experience, people have no idea what they have to go through, not only in Clearwater, but anywhere, to get that plan approved, because they've got to abide by state, federal, state, and local rules. They just don't know what they're, and I know there's some things out there that you put out to help the public understand that, but it would be a really nice thing to have a friendly face there to go, okay, well, let me see if I can help you with this. The BPRC is a great start, and I always recommend to people, if you're going to go into the building department, go through a BPRC process, because you'll get everybody, you get the staff at the table, they'll tell you, you can go in with a simple plan, say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Everybody will look at it and say, if they think there's a problem with their department on that, they'll let you know. And then you take that, if you're a bigger developer, to your engineer, and it gives them a little guideline to go by. But I guess I really didn't want to be talking right now to everybody at the building department. I more or less just put it on Bill's shoulders. Let's go ahead and see what we can do to get some changes initiated that would be good changes. I know this is another conversation, but the charter review this year came up with some ideas, and one of them for neighborhoods is an ombudsman. So it's not a bad idea to have somebody there that can walk somebody through the process and make it a little easier for them. So with that, I think I'd like to open it up to anybody else for comments on that. Any other council members?
Mr. Conda.
I think there have been improvements over the last number of years, and I know you all have been working on it. In listening to Mr. Albritton here for the first time, I agree with him that it seems to be a communication problem. How can we improve the communication between you folks, the staff, and the contractor or the homeowner who wants to come in and get some things improved on his property? And if we can find ways to, he kept saying the smiling face. That's one aspect of communication. I know you folks are overworked, but even something as simple as a smiling face when somebody comes in always helps. And if there are ways that things can be streamlined, and I have to say, I think they've been improving, although even just a week ago, I talked to a contractor who lives here in Clearwater, but he will not, he said, do business in Clearwater because it's too difficult. And if we can go through, maybe with an outside set of ears and eyes, and find out, well, what is it that seems too difficult for contractors when they go through the system? And if we can one by one improve the communication and do what we can to make satisfied customers, and we do have a lot of satisfied customers, but we need more, don't we? That's my 2 cents worth. Thank you all.
Mr. Pogler.
Thank you, Mayor. So my question would be, what is the average backlog time for a project, small and large? Are we correctly staffed? I mean, do we need assistance in the building department? Is there an opportunity maybe for independent building plan review where we hire outside reviewers to help out in times of either busy or maybe the criteria is larger size projects, whatever takes up most of staff's time? I was part of the initial initiative back in 2012, Business Task Force. Actually, the Clearwater Downtown Partnership started that process, and then at that time, Mayor Hibbard came over and took it over. And there were many, many recommendations, I think 4 or 5 pages. Many of them were approved and implemented. And I do think we've went a long ways, whether there's additional technology that would help. But I do think that and I'm just going to use one example because every developer, every homeowner can't have a Joe Burdette or a David Albritton. Okay, so navigation is extremely important. There was an ombudsman recommended for that, and I think they made some changes there. But I think it's mindset. We did a field trip when I was on a partnership back then in 12 to Pinellas Park. No less than, and it's a staffing issue, 4 people met us at the door, didn't know we were coming, and it was like open arms. Now, I'm not saying lovey-dovey roses and doves flying when you walk into the building department, but it's a mindset that has to start with the city manager in all these departments when engaging the public. And it has to be universal across the board, across every department in the city when you're dealing with the public. I think we do a great job in that. A perfect example, I think, in my mind, is Parks and Rec. I mean, we are like the #1, irregardless of some of the media picking currently on us in every department. We're kind of fair game in every department right now, which I think is totally unfair. But if you just look at our geographic location, guys, we're all going to be fair game right now. Okay, that's just the nature of this city. So that being said, I think the mindset has to change. And I'm not saying it hasn't, but I think it needs to be continually reinforced because when we deal with our public, we want them to not just love the climate and the beauty and the look, but love their city. And I think that's the whole goal of Imagine Clearwater, to love the city and come back. So those would be my comments.
Mr. Hamilton.
Well, I kind of look at it I'm going to look at it from a little different angle because, well, great points are being made, and I support it, and I'll get to that. But the other side of it is, look at everything that has been built and what has happened out on Clearwater Beach, these quality products, these quality things. The development community sees the value in Clearwater. We need to embrace that, and we need to understand that. But, and that doesn't mean you let the developers run roughshod over staff. I think what Councilmember Albritton said about, it's all about expectation. If the developer brings in a set of plans and he knows it's going to take 6 weeks before he gets them back, well, if it takes 8 weeks and he knows that going in, but he knows with 8 weeks of review, it's going to have, all questions asked for for that developer to respond to, it's just a matter of that, because they all know they're not going to get, you're not going to go in to do one of these large developments and submit your plans and come back and, staff's just going to say, hey, everything's great, knock yourself out. They've got to go through these things, and it's their job. But my approach is more of the technology. I mean, I know for a fact, we just upgraded our computers to a higher level of capacity, but, with what planning and development is dealing with versus the private sector, I can promise you the private sector has all got the top technology on the market to do what they do. We need to be able to meet that and match that technology from a communication standpoint and whatnot. And I think, being able to submit plans through a PDF, not have to reprint these huge, because, we've all seen plans, I don't know if everybody has, but, when you're doing a major hotel development on Clearwater Beach, there's about 12 rolls about this big around, for each person. And it's like, that's a lot of money. And, I think we need to, I'm always interested in, and I support wholeheartedly any way we can streamline the process without losing quality, and anywhere we can save money for ourselves and the development community, that's a win-win too. So I'm open to suggestions because they know a lot more about that than I do, and but that's kind of where I go.
I'm not a contractor, I'm not a builder, I'm Tim from Home Improvement. Yeah.
Tim, the two-man tailor.
But I've been on council now 12, 13 years, and one of the first things I heard when I got on council was that Clearwater is an unfriendly place to do business. That no contractor is going to be satisfied with any question that we ask of him. And we may make the improvement that he recommends, he's going to find something else to complain about. That's human nature. All of this started because someone complained about something that was erroneous and gave the wrong facts. Can improvements be made? Absolutely. We all can improve. But to give up what we've had and what we've established just to make sure it only has to be reviewed one time doesn't, I'm not grasping that, because the changes, maybe they didn't go through the entire plans when they found something wrong and brought it to your attention. And to save time, in their mind, they gave it back to you right away. I don't know. Like I say, I'm not a contractor. But I do believe that improvements can be made without sacrificing the quality of work that we have, the quality of products that are being built in Clearwater, and I'm going to just let it go at that. Let's not throw out the baby because, one person complained with facts that were incorrect. Let's see if the manager has something, to help us out with.
I think he wants to make a comment.
No, I want, you heard just basically from us, and then we'll come back to us again.
Okay.
Okay.
I've heard complaints about our permitting system going back to 1998 when I first got here. And in fact, we had a Valentine's Day massacre on the permitting department. Pam, you probably remember this. My predecessor one day got angry, fired 5 people. Now, of the 5, I think the only ones that could stay fired were 2, and that was because it was kind of a reckless act to begin with. So the complaints that you all have shared, I mean, I have heard them. And we have continued to make system improvements. And from talking to some of the directors, there is still opportunity to make some system improvements. One of the things we try to do is that when someone does complain, that we look into it and make sure we know and understand accurately what happened. That's been my policy the whole time I've been here. And what's amazing to me is that when I have done that, what I have often found, not in every case, but I would say 9 out of 10 cases, it really wasn't us. It was the person who was trying to do business with us. All contractors are not equal. I think we all know that. All developers are not equal. I think we know that as well. Why? Because we have worked with developers who have praised us, have not complained about our system, have not complained about our process. But there's also another reality that we deal with, and that's the reality of some of the contractors, some of our patrons who are not as skilled and can't figure some of this out. And when they don't do their jobs very well, then that causes us to have more interaction with them. In talking to Councilmember Albritton, I mean, he has been a contractor. He has subject knowledge. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to give him an opportunity to sit down with our most experienced staff who does this every day and give him an opportunity to share some of his suggestions, some of his ideas. And I want the staff to interact with him just like they interact with the people that we support. Because I think the suggestions and ideas and the concerns really needs to have a very robust discussion so we all come away with the same kind of understanding. What comes out of that interaction, I think, will be some information that staff can use to internally, let's take a look at where we can make some improvements. We will come back to you all and finish this conversation so that you understand, kind of where we find ourselves as a result of it. And from our perspective, we're going to slay this dragon because we continue to have the same kind of conversation where we have different kinds of realities. And I just think that we approach this a little differently. It's like insanity. You keep doing the same thing and expecting different results. One of the reasons for having the staff here, we've never done this before. And you may have felt uncomfortable having staff there. You may have felt uncomfortable sharing comments to them.
No, I don't. I'm just, finish up what you're going to say.
So, but the point is, we have to continue to move forward in addressing what is, in many cases, perception, and perception is reality for people. So that's kind of where we are headed, Mayor, Council. I want this interaction to occur. I want the staff to feel very comfortable in the conversation, and then we'll take the results of that conversation and see where it leads us in making improvements that are believed to be appropriate, reasonable. You're right, we're not going to lose any ground. We're not going to, it's all about making things better, not making it worse. That's all.
Okay, and to close, I'll close this out. I just want to say, as I said in the beginning, I really don't have a problem. Staff has always been very good and helpful to me. We have great staff. It's a system problem that I see, and I've always been talking about. And I think now that I'm sitting here, maybe there's something that I can do to help you, because I know you've got to be as frustrated as anybody else when you have people coming to you, and such as what happened last week with one contractor that was, I guess, caused a little commotion in there. So I know you're frustrated, and I want to help. I want to help make that better. And I will listen, and I think it's good that we do have meetings, and maybe we can come up with something that helps us all.
Thank you, Mr. Albert, because I think all of us don't want to be here 2 years from now, 4 years from now, 6 years from now, having these same conversations.
That's right.
Thank you very much. Any other business, council, before we adjourn? We remind everybody that our next council meeting is on Thursday, November the 7th at 6 o'clock in the evening. Thank you.